brought up this topic. I thought it would be very interesting discussion, and I call it the Green Party infiltration. What if the Green Party as a whole decided to spend the next 4 years infiltrating the Democratic Party to influence from the inside?
Talking about the Green Party, right? The Green Party, the United States Green Party, this Green Party. All right. I say this out of love because I'm a huge supporter of, independent parties. I believe we should have a parliamentary system. I believe that we should have truly a multi-party system because the two-party system isn't working because there's so many people identify with different political points of views. But looking at the United States Green Party, they still have a long way to go. And in 2016, after the general election, they basically crapped the bed. They could have done more. They could have been getting involved more. And I can't help but think of 3 organizations that tried to infiltrate the DNC and reform it and failed miserably. 4, technically. You have the Justice Democrats that have now become a super PAC. You have Brand New Congress. You have Our Revolution. And to some extent, you also have DSA. Did any one of them truly succeed in reforming the DNC? No. Now, did they get some progressives at the state and federal level? Yeah, they did. But it's still not enough. Now, the Green Party, the United States Green Party, that still struggles to get on the ballot, still struggles to get on the debate stage, and right now is dealing with this same crisis as Howie Hawkins, the answer is absolutely no. They don't have what it takes. It's impossible. Even with the financial resources, they still don't have enough. No one takes them serious enough. They could have really built something during the 4 years before we got up to 2020, and they didn't. Now, the thing is, when Harlan's Media got started in 2017, we interviewed Greens and Libertarians, and we did follow the Green Party here in the state of Illinois. And even when they were holding events, we were kind of getting some interesting interviews here and there. And one thing that was standing out was we did talk to people who used to be part of Bernie Sanders' volunteer campaign and Our Revolution, a few other things, and they're all saying the same thing. The Green Party, just like the DNC, is not embracing new ideas or inviting different people to bring in their perspective. It'll vary from state to state where, some Greens are really hesitant in inviting in people from minority communities, like from the Latino and African American communities, from taking positions of leadership or bring in change or trying to do more outreach. And the Green Party is stuck on this old idea. So here you have this political party similar to the DNC, but with no power, no money, no respect, and they're still pushing back people who are trying to re-energize the Green Party. So the Green Party trying to infiltrate the DNC, I mean, it's like a little kid trying to take on like an older kid, and the little kids is pushing him back with his hands, like, what are you doing? Like, you are stupid, you are weak. The Green Party doesn't have what it takes, and with my coverage of them, especially leading up to now, not only is it a sinking ship, it's at the bottom of the ocean with all the fish swimming right through it. At this point, unless the Green Party is prepared to fundamentally change the way it runs things, and unless the Green Party actually somehow, out of the blue, is able to get more than 5% in the general election when the voting's all done, then we can have a different conversation. Then I'll backtrack my statements from this video. Otherwise, and charge.
Go ahead, Carlito.
Isn't that the issue that they have with like Jesse Ventura? I think when we were hearing, he was trying to get into Green Party.
He was trying to get into the he was trying to get the nomination, but it was a mess because here's a guy with a lot of popularity, and we talked about this before, where he could have easily changed the political landscape that we have right now. But they worked hard to get Howie Hawkins. He ran as a governor. I voted for him actually when he ran for governor for New York City, or for New York. From what I understand, he ran like 20-something times or more, and he has never won an election. Wow. So they made this guy the nominee, and really they pulled a Hillary Clinton where they just like moved everybody out the way and put him to the forefront.
That was my main point that I was going to bring up, was that if you're a serious party that's trying to make moves and trying to win, and you have somebody that's going to come over like a Jesse Ventura, who's been a mayor, who's been a governor, who has experience working with both sides, who is unapologetic. And he goes, "Hey guys, can I play with you guys?" And you're like, "No, we're good. We got Gabe over here. Gabe's gonna hold down the fort." And Gabe's 5'6". You know, it's not really the right
And
thing.
I've seen you play basketball too. So.
So you know, on that point, if you're really serious and you have a serious candidate that comes to you like that, you have to move mountains to get him in and to give him the support that he needs. Versus Howie Hawkins, who has good policies. I've heard his policies. I like the guy as a person. But I mean, is he gonna win? Is he gonna even make a splash? Jesse Ventura is gonna get 5%. He's gonna get 10%. Can he get them to maybe even win? As crazy as it sounds, with two candidates that people are like, the biggest block vote. And if Jesse gets out a good percentage of those people that don't vote, you know, anything's possible. But the point is, they shot themselves in the foot when they didn't even consider him for someone else who has zero chance to get 5%.
I think if they got him in the debates, he would be able to really make some noise.
Yeah.
I think once you put him up next to, Trump, the landscape.
Well, he also mentioned that I think he mentioned some type of like Fox News polls where he was polling like an 8% without even being in the race. But it's also a good point that something that Kid brought up, like in the Latino community and the African American community, people don't even know the Green Party exists, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really want to, like, as we know, like, Latino community is the fastest minority growing coming. Like we are coming, people are getting of age to get a vote. We know the African American community is strong. And if you don't want to bring those community in to know about your party, then we don't take them serious. Like there's a lot of people there that don't even know they exist. So you think like, hey, maybe the way of us trying to get in there and try to get to know is to bring in more minorities from every community to be able to tell us, hey, we have another party and this is what we could do for you. So totally agree with a lot of the points.
To your point, John, I mean, we're political junkies, right? And even we rarely ever hear about the Green Party. What maybe once every 4 years? I mean, we don't talk about them. We don't hear about them. They're essentially non-existent to us. So how do you ever plan to run any kind of legitimate campaign if we never ever hear about you? We don't know what you're doing when there's not a big election coming up. We barely even know what you're doing when there is a big election coming up. Yeah. So I mean, you're non-existent to us. To Kid's point earlier about Justice Democrats, brand new Congress. Captain America power and combine all these powers and all this effort, because we have had some success, but I think it's going to take some kind of combination between the Green Party and all those other organizations to come together somehow. I don't know how, but once we can combine those powers, I think we can have a real influence on the Democratic Party.
Right now, the Greens and Libertarians got very lucky with the Supreme Court ruling here in our state where, they don't have to get a certain amount of ballot signatures. So now they're secured themselves on the ballot and Illinois voters can vote for them. Before then, the Illinois Greens and Libertarians, and I don't know what they have to deal with in your state specifically. If you're running for office before COVID hit us, Illinois Greens and Libertarians had to get 25,000 signatures plus another 25,000 signatures because Illinois, like if one thing's messed up on the signatures to be on the ballot, gets removed. So Illinois Libertarians and Greens have to work very hard. Whether if you're Democrat or Republican, you need at least the bare minimum of 5,000 signatures. Greens and Libertarians, people will walk away from that. And plus, when the Greens in Illinois actually had a chance to be recognized as a party, this was in 2010, where they actually had enough to be recognized in our state, they dropped the ball, and now they have to go through that process all over again.
Wow.
All over again, even though in Illinois. So, and look, anyone can fact check this. In Illinois, at one point, the Green Party, Illinois Green Party, was recognized in our state. And then they dropped the ball. They could have capitalized on that momentum. Still not enough. Now in California, there was one person named Keith Mija, who was able to at least get 26% of the vote. during the last, I think, midterm election cycle. So there's a rare success story, but even then, the Greens don't capitalize it. And then also bring up another example, too. In 2016, Dr. Jill Stein actually came to the city of Chicago and walked through some of the inner candidate from a political party actually reach out and actually, you know, talk to the people there. And this was in 2016 alone. This is when I was just getting involved. I didn't know anything about radio, television, YouTube, or nothing, but she was there. I had actually a chance to actually talk to her, but I mean, even then, it still wasn't enough. And the thing is,
so Kid, we got the people, the Nick Brunner movement, where he's trying to start a new party, where it's called the Movement for the People's Party. That's right, and they're having a convention where they're featuring Nina Turner, Cornel West, Jimmy Dore, and other people. You think there's potential there?
Yes and no. It depends on what exactly the Movement for the People's Party will do to capitalize. And that means they have to be aggressive. They have to be unapologetic. That means they have to be prepared to be treated like the villain, like Ralph Nader has been by the Democrats, even though now the Democrats have been applauding George W. Bush, especially after a recent funeral of a DNC establishment leader, all right? So, I mean, when the Democrats are applauding George Bush, but at the same time blaming Ralph Nader for George Bush, you know, the Movement for People's Party is going to have to take that hit. They're also going to have to take that hit from corporate. Somewhat ally of the DNC. You know, they have to be aggressive. They have to say that we are a better voice. We are a better party. We're talking about the issues. We have the infrastructure. And I hope that they realize that, you know, to be a third party, you're going to have to climb the mountains of not only the limitations of what a third party has to deal with at the federal level, but also at the state level, at the county level, at the city level. And they need to be building that infrastructure. They need to plan and mobilize and organize to have that ability to do that and to take those hits and also go into communities that have never seen interaction from their politicians. That means they have to go into African-American communities and Latino communities and build that alliance up and convince those voters, those constituents, that if you roll with us, we will help you. If you help us build, we can take out these corrupt politicians that have been hurting you for decades. And that's going to be they have to build the infrastructure. Infrastructure is key. Otherwise, you could speak a good game, you could speak a good message, you can have good talking points, and you can have some heavy hitters speaking for you at your convention. But if you do not put in the groundwork, then you are nothing. Now, case in point, let's look at the DSA, for example. I know there's a lot of criticism towards DSA. I think they have the potential to really be a third party. However, they're a political organization and they're building infrastructure. And I think they might be able to do it. It's just, again, they have to deal with that same propaganda. They have to deal with that same issue. And I think in regards to building infrastructure, they can do it. It's just, for them, it will be a longer road because, again, democratic socialism has a stigma in corporate media and, of course, amongst American voters. So, I mean, I have to see what Movement for People's Party can do. So it's a yes and no answer. Yes, they can. The momentum is there, but if they don't have the infrastructure, then, you know.
I actually thought the one group, you know, the case said the one group that I think could infiltrate is DSA, because, you know, with Bernie using the democratic socialist, you know, tag, you know, it has a lot of stigma, and that's why it's a hard road for them to, you know, to use socialists. But as far as infiltrating the Democratic Party, I think they're the best group to do it, because, like you mentioned, AOC and the rest of the squad that believe in democratic socialism, they could just run under the Democratic Party, but bring those ideas with them, and they hopefully become, you know, take over the Progressive Caucus, become a non-evil Tea Party per se, and just throw a wrench into everything.
And to answer,
I'm glad you brought that up. Real quick, and then I'll go to you, Gabe. I'm glad you brought that up, because it seems like that's what DSA is doing right now. That's what they're doing. They're running people to run as Democrats.